welcome to the Daily Space Weather, folks. I be your host, smAsho. smAsho Mash, aka Dan. Looking at the sun in 304 angstroms, it's a 48-hour movie here from the SDO. Filaments trailing that failed sunspot region. Active region setting in the southwest. No sunspots. And I was incorrect yesterday. That sunspot never got named. And it evaporated quite rapidly. And there were umbra for a while, and now there are none. We also saw some geomagnetic unrest conditions and a bunch of quakes striking Utah. We'll get to it. So yeah, coronal hole wind stream arriving right now. Let's take a look at the fields. There's 171 angstroms, and there are the magnetogram data. Zoom in on that region real quick. There's that zone. Not a sunspot. So here are some custom movies. This is the active region setting. You can see the magnetic looping of that ionized iron. And also, here is that active region in the northeast. And let's look at where things are in the solar system. By the way, spring begins tonight. There's where planets, the moon, etc. will be in 1 week. So in 19 hours and 38 minutes, we'll be streaming. It'll be actually more like in 19 hours and 18 minutes, because we're going to start about 20 minutes early at least. So join us tonight, either whether it's on twitch.tv/smAshomash or on youtube.com/smAshomash. We'll have 2 separate streams going simultaneously. So check that out. As the Earth's equator crosses the Sun's equator at noon, otherwise known as the equinox. Here's where stuff is above my head. Speaking of my head, it's vanished. Vanished, I tell you. If you've got a low horizon, you should get a great view of Jupiter and Mars rising together as planetary pileups continue in the morning sky. If you've got a telescope, send us an image. We will feature it on the channel. There you can see the geomagnetic unrest conditions that kicked up as a result of that high-speed solar wind from a coronal hole. And we are expecting to see this ramp down. It looks like the solar wind has leveled out at about 500 kilometers per second. 10.7 centimeter radial flux, a good proxy for sunspot number, which correlates almost perfectly with sunspot number, still at 72 solar flux units. X-ray flares never really got started because that sunspot, the umbre, evaporated. So again, no sunspots and no X-ray flares. If you want to cover cosmic rays, watch our video from yesterday, or perhaps view them yourself. Network of Cosmic Rays Stations website always included below the video. Let's look at the real-time solar wind here from Discover. Phi angle currently around 320 degrees. Solar wind density 8.37. And it looks like the solar wind speed might have just leveled out there around 500 kilometers a second. That was enough to get us into geomagnetic unrest for a short period. And some missing data there from the ACE once again. Here's the aurora forecasts, and nothing too special going on there. No reason to get super excited about seeing auroras, as it doesn't look super intense. And I'll let that play through for all of you high latitude viewers. So a little kick up there. It looks like eastern Canada might have been able to see some auroras. Perhaps check out spaceweather.com. They always got great galleries. And today we're going to look at all 3 images here. All 3 geospace magnetosphere movies. We'll look at the velocity as well as the density and the pressure today. And if you're wondering where Lou Dobbs lives right about here. Just kidding, folks. I don't believe in the boogeyman or Dobbs objects. I believe in them, but I don't believe that they're there. And if they were, they would not be able to do enough to show up on these models. Next, we're looking at the density. And it is a fairly dense incoming solar wind there. Fairly dense and fairly high speed is creating lots of pressure. So here's the pressure. And this is the one we cover every day. And you can see pretty high pressure there. Again, a result of significant solar wind speed and significant density. Next, we'll look at ground geospace magnetic perturbations, and they're looking pretty weird. They are sort of all over the planet here, not so centered on the poles today. So there's 4 hours of data. A little closer to home, the ground magnetic perturbations delta B, in other words, changes in Earth's B field, the field that goes through a magnet. So a little anomalous looking there. And here's the view from the globe, and you can see pulses in the Indian Ocean, in the Pacific Ocean, and even odd creep in the Canadian North Pole. Significant geomagnetic perturbations over places like Alaska, stretching all the way down into connecting with the Pacific Ocean and going across California and so on. And there's the GOES magnetometer data. Quite spiky and sawtoothed here, not smooth at all as forecasted. For the last couple of weeks, actually, it's been solidly no smooth magnetometer readings. And it's easy to forecast if you use the Gong 2 top view ecliptic plane field plot. And the current sheet, is completely charged up by the south solar polar field shown here in red. Here's the line of sight field plot showing the sun's B field, otherwise known as the interplanetary magnetic field, the one on which you live, in blue. Nothing to really comment on there. Electron flux still quite low, and we're expecting this to soar as soon as this solar wind, within 24 hours of this solar wind ramping down. And there you can see the GOES electron flux is also cratered, very low. In fact, getting so low it's hard to measure. Next, we'll look at the ionosphere. And this will be the last time we look at it throughout the winter, unless I decide to look at it tonight when we do our live stream. Are you ready for spring? Are you going to plant things? Anyway, it's looking pretty normal up there. Here is the latest image. Actually, there are some anomalous charge-ups still in the South Pacific there, south of Hawaii. And it's been like that for months. By the way, if you enjoy the content, please press like and subscribe. If you are on YouTube, leave a comment, share on your social media, share with your friends, share with your foes, share with your neutrals. Also check our links. Thanks to our patrons for being associate and assistant producers of the content. Thanks, patrons, for providing actual financial incentive while we see our content constantly throttled, demonetized, and removed from search listings. There's additional censorship we're going to talk about momentarily. Please consider becoming a patron to help ensure that these videos will continue to exist. There is exclusive content in various spots, and thanks to our Subscribestar base. There's a different tier there at Subscribestar. The tiers at Patreon are $1 a month and $9.99 a month. At Subscribestar, it's $3 a month USD. Please support us any way possible. And Google is still doing scammy things, because Google is a scam and not a verb. And if you're still using it as a search engine, well, just let this sink in. Let's hope it doesn't give you a seizure. Google's still showing mask ads next to coronavirus stories after promising to take them down. Still more evidence that Google is nothing more than a zombie company requiring algorithms to simply exist. Google has made repeated representations to consumers that its policies prohibit ads for products such as protective masks. Yet the company appears not to be taking even rudimentary steps to enforce the policy. That's because Google has more lawyers than it has software engineers. It's created so much liability for itself. Here's yet another example of why Google is a scam and not a verb, and does just as much to harm you and the internet as it does to help you. If you think it's any sort of a benefit, let it be said that Google should break itself up voluntarily into individual business units that are able to get the hell out of their own way, because it sucks. It just sucks. Sergey Brin sucks, Larry Page sucks, Eric Schmidt sucks, and Sundar Pichai suck. BitChute does not suck. BitChute is fantastic, and we got about 1,000 views on our 3 videos yesterday. Yesterday we put up one called Smash History, Reading, Writing, Arithmetic, Psychology, oh my! Which includes some history of me. I'm not even putting that on YouTube because YouTube can shove it. And we've moved on to a little section known as the Cosmology segment. So join me as I talk about space, the final meteorological frontier. These are the voyages of the spaceship smAsho bunker. Our continuing mission to study the actual science, debunk the nonsense, and provide some actual insight into some cutting-edge stuff. Yesterday we talked about the weekly space hangout, modeling coronal mass ejections here with Dr. Meng Jin and 4 other folks. Let's play a quote. We're going to be watching this later today.
See with the naked eye, or you can use a small pair of binoculars or a small telescope. One of them, it is the greatest elongation of...
I don't know what he's talking about, but I'm going to watch the whole video later. It's 55 minutes long. Now, yesterday we talked about the heliosphere and its shape, in that it's likely not shaped like a bubble. Some recent research indicating that it's probably shaped more like a croissant. And that is absolutely no surprise to those of us who understand magnetohydrodynamics and the role of it in cosmology. If you want to hear about that, watch yesterday's video. And let's move on to talk about the Large Magellanic Cloud and the Tarantula Nebula. And this region here is looking pretty interesting lately. Check out the rift in the middle of that thing. This article on phys.org shall be included below the video on the origin of massive stars. Now, just a little side note here, folks. Mainstream astronomy does not understand how stars form. We may never know how stars form. We've never really seen a star form, and we've never really seen a star die. We've seen stars wink out and vanish entirely, reappear, brighten, dim, and do all kinds of things. But ultimately, every time we see a, quote, supernova, end quote, we tend to see a light source in the center of the nebula that it creates, an indication that these supernoval explosions are not destroying stars. Anyway, LHA 120-N150 contains several dozen massive objects, clumps of dust. So perhaps check out the article here, again about the Tarantula Nebula, also known as 30 Doradus or NGC 2070. Again, links below the video to that. And let's move back to data here. And let's have me vanish. I've vanished, folks. Vanished. Windy.com's pressure maps. We're going to advance this via the GFS forecast and see what the first pressure of spring will look like. And there now it's spring. On the GFS model we're showing, there's where things will be at, there's where things will be at 1500 hours tomorrow. that low pressure zone moving up to eastern Canada, a place that seems to suck, except for the Trailer Park Boys. Next, we'll look at the location of this large 5.7 magnitude quake right on the shore of the Great Salt Lake. It was in a populated area, right next to the city of Magna. And here's a zoom out of where that 5.7 magnitude quake struck yesterday, just after we did our show, the Daily Space Weather. Let's look at the last 24 of earthquakes, and it looks like a swarm has struck in Alaska also. So there's that 5.7. Here's one that's 100 meters above sea level in California. And let's scroll up the list here. Tons and tons of aftershocks strike in Utah. There's a 4.5. And this list, we leave this list in the default form, folks. So there's that 5.0 at Alaska. Let's check out the location of that one, since there's a ton of aftershocks there also. And that one is in a wildlife refuge. Looks like a totally unpopulated area. Maybe not totally unpopulated, but pretty unpopulated. And we had a 5.2 in Petrolia, California also. Let me get back to where I was on the list here. And there's a 6.2 magnitude at Indonesia. All right, let's get back on the list. It looks like the deep quakes have ceased. No deep quakes at all so far on the list. There's one striking New Zealand. It looks close to the North Island. Here's a 6.2 at Indonesia. So that's the largest quake of the past 24. That one came in at 1745 UT. 6.2 magnitude quake. So aftershocks continue to strike Alaska and Utah. There's a deep quake at the Philippines. It's a 4.4 magnitude at 190 kilometers depth approximately. Here's a 5.2 off the coast of California. Petrolia has been a recent hotbed out there in the ocean. Here's a deep quake in Indonesia. It's at 248 kilometers depth. And I just want to look at this zone also. Oh, that's the Utah quakes. All right, good. And let's move on to talk about silver. Nearly at $12 an ounce, correlating with the stock market crash. I don't know what else to tell you other than the silver to gold ratio, or you could say the gold to silver ratio, is at ridiculous levels, historic levels. I mean, there it is. What? That's enough to make you go, oh my God! Welcome to DR Renaissance, folks. Have you been to smAsho yet? Well, if you go to smAsho you'll see some links. You'll also see how to get to the smAsho forum. It's smAsho.com/forum, and we've got a massive section on COVID-19, and we've recently updated it. So, bailouts happen galore. Central banks are injecting trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars into world economies. So strap in for inflation, folks. It's gonna happen. And you see, does this make any, does that, okay, good. So helicopter money has begun around the whole world to pay for all kinds of things created by the panic of the coronavirus. So there's an article on smAsho.com/forum. We've got over 12 pages of information. Guess what? There's going to soon be tons of toilet paper. And supply chain experts like me, because I work in the supply chain for a lab testing and food safety company. We also do nutritional integrity testing. So a bunch of niche food products are going to be tough to find. Also certain fruits and vegetables, especially imported ones. So keep an eye on that. We saw some lovely looking Mexican asparagus yesterday in our local grocery store, and zero toilet paper, as people do stupid things. So hopefully this situation is bringing out the worst in people and indeed the best in people. Hopefully that's not bringing out the worst and is indeed bringing out the best. Let's talk about a home remedy. It's the baking soda and salt mouthwash home remedy. Now, coronavirus typically kills people via secondary infections. One of the routes for secondary infections is mouth-based bacteria. If you do a baking soda and salt mouthwash, this will alkalize your mouth, and the bacteria that typically cause dental infections are also capable of causing things like strep throat and bacterial pneumonia and things like that. One of the ways to mitigate this is by using a baking soda and salt mouthwash. Just mix together 1 cup of warm water, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Swish it around in your mouth, rinse with plain water, and you will have the freshest mouth out there. And it's a little bit cheaper than any sort of mouthwash that you're going to buy in the store, and it doesn't beat up your cells with a bunch of alcohol. So perhaps check out that home remedy. We will link that. Actually, we'll put the whole article in the forums. And check it out. We've been getting censored once again on Facebook. So well done, well done. Facebook has decided to completely hide the post for our BitChute video about daily space weather, geomagnetic jerks, Sagittarius A outbursts, and financial fallout. So well done, Facebook. Well done. Oh, slow clap for you, you cretins. As if that needed to be censored. Speaking of needing to be censored, we don't need to be censored. This is America, you retards. Who needs the government? Big tech will censor you for free. And again, congratulations, Mark, to learning how to drink water. So we've got opinions about Facebook, and it all started back in December of 2018. See, back then, Facebook started censoring our content. And that prompted us to create some memes. Like this one, and like this one. And we'll include links to all of those. They're all on our minds.com page. It's minds.com/smashomash. A real social media organization who won't censor you, and they won't have heaping helpings of idiocy and admin abuse. And they won't have so many douchebags. And it's probably even harder to be a Russian bot if you're on minds.com. The social media that won't shadow ban you. Let's talk about COVID-19. Total confirmed cases now at 218,824. Total deaths 8,810. Total recovered 84,000. And that yellow graph is going to continue to go up, I think, for quite a while, folks, as it's all got to do with testing. You can't confirm a case until it's tested, and probably most of the cases around the world will not be discovered, because most of the people that get the virus probably will experience zero symptoms, making it nearly impossible to track such a viral vector. Just wash your hands and do all the responsible things, and you'll probably be fine. Let's look at the volcano rundown. It includes Kluchevskoy exploding, or at least erupting, and producing a 20,000-foot plume of ash. Also, flight level 5,000 there. Ibu's exploding, 7,000-foot plume there. Sangay exploding, 21,000-foot plume there. Revenador and Sabancaya both exploding, producing a 16,000 and 26,000-foot plume of ash respectively. Please do not attempt to do the triple Lindy over the top of either of those caldera, as it could be unhealthful. Next, we're looking at the jet streams of the eastern world. I like the way it's tripled up in the southern hemisphere. And here is the western world. And we're getting into value-added services. I apologize for that temporary aside. As again, we are streaming this live, so if you're viewing it on twitch.tv/smAsho, we thank you. Anyplace else, it's not live, it's Memorex. And here is the water vapor map animation for Africa and Europe. Here's the water vapor map animation for the Far East and Oceania. It looks like you've got some dry air overhead. Kimberly, enjoy the clear skies. Next, we're going to look at the U.S. Shortwave radiation map here for once. We can't see clouds at nighttime, and sometimes we're interested in where they are, so we use a shortwave radiation for that. It's 3.9 nanometers. And it's pretty cloudy over the U.S. right now. I would also note all the low clouds over the Atlantic Ocean. By the way, low clouds are associated with cosmic ray flux. I don't know if you were aware. And again, if you want to see the current state of affairs with cosmic rays, watch our video from yesterday. And it looks like it's going to take a while to clear out here above my head. Let's take a look at the water vapor map. There's the U.S. water vapor map. And it's a turbulent time over central Pennsylvania right now. As well as if you're flying across New Mexico or Texas. There's going to be big time turbulence there. And today we're going to look at my own home state of Pennsylvania. And I'm located in Lehigh Valley for all you new viewers out there. Thanks for tuning in. Here is today's weather pornography section. And indeed, if you're flying across Pennsylvania, you're going to see some turbulence, as we've got two different high pressure systems colliding here. So this one here is at a higher altitude than this one here. And so that's it's going to be some interesting weather here for a while. And let's actually look at this area also, because this is really even more of a series of pressure gradients than over PA. So check that area out. Shout out to Ben Davidson. Should be some interesting cloud formations today. So, hey, suspicious observers. Send me an image. Send me an email. smAshomash@gmail.com. Next, we'll look at the U.S. Doppler radar. If you're not aware, this is a ground-based radar system that measures motion in the cloud column vertically, vertical motion. And we see some pretty heavy-looking thunderstorms there over central Texas and Oklahoma, as it rains hard on eastern Pennsylvania, and even some ice falling in South Dakota there. Next, we'll check out lightningmaps.org. And there's lightning rolling in somewhere. Oklahoma City, there's thunder rolling in. Check out lightningmaps.org. Impress your friends and terrify your foes by forecasting thunder. And hey, Smash team, thanks for tuning in to the Smash stream. Whether it was live or whether it was Memorex, we've got bonus features, such as this intensity gram showing you 0 sunspots, prompting some people to say, "Oh my God!" Please leave a comment if you know who Gond is. And this active region up here is not a sunspot, never got named yesterday, and once again, I'll admit that I was wrong, as it's a rare enough event that I'm not concerned about admitting it. If you're right over 97% of the time, folks, that's a pretty good record. So we're going to close things out by looking at the 131 angstroms view of the local yellow dwarf. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink it. If you do, don't drive. Don't forget to check smashomash.com/forum. We'll be coming at you with more content soon. And may that solar wind be at your back, and that atherosclerosis absent from your arteries.